So some of you have probably seen the slide, which represents a study The Economist did a number of years ago. Effectively, they looked at all the world economies between 2000 and 2010, and they asked themselves the question, which were the fastest growing economies in the world by way of GDP growth rates during this period? Interestingly, of the top 10 fastest growing economies between 2000 and 2010, 6 of them came from the African continent. They were Angola, Nigeria, Chad, Ethiopia, Mozambique, and Rwanda. Now, people are frequently shocked that all these countries were there, and they're usually very shocked by the fact that Ethiopia is in that. And I'm going to challenge you on this account. African countries have been growing very, very rapidly, albeit in some cases off very, very low bases. So you have to take these statistics with a pinch of salt. If you take a look at Angola and Nigeria, for instance, a significant proportion of that growth was driven by a buoyant oil price. If you had to take a look at Rwanda and Mozambique, they were recovering from civil wars and it was a normalization. But it doesn't detract from the trend. High positive growth rates regarding GDP. If we had to extrapolate those numbers and we had to look at the period subsequent to 2010, how those growth rates performed, they've come down somewhat. They've reduced. Why? Because countries which are oil-producing countries have not grown as rapidly, Angola and Nigeria being cases in point, and also you've had some countries suffering lower growth rates as a result of the Arab Spring in 2011. So if you had to look at that period from 2000 to 2010, growth rates on average on the African continent were 5.4%. If you had to look at the period from 2010 to 2015, they were 3.3%. That's a marked slowdown, and it's particularly by exporters of oil such as Nigeria and Angola, and also countries affected by the Arab Spring uprisings. But if you strip out the Angolas, the Nigerias, and the Arab Spring countries, actually the African continent between 2010 and 2015 has grown at 4.4%. So the growth rates have continued to be quite robust in that regard.